Hey guys, what's happening? Zoop here, and today I'm bringing you a preview of the USS Ohio, a Tier 10 American battleship that will be available through the new and revamped NTC. Now, I have no doubt you've probably seen some previews of Ohio already, but I'm going to focus on something a little different. This video is going to be more about how the Ohio compares to Montana. I think really that's what a lot of players are wondering. I know I sure was, even before the Ohio made its way into my port. So really, I'm going to cover how the Ohio stands up to Montana in its current work-in-progress state, and how they're similar and how they're not alike. The best way to say it, or at least the best way I can think of to explain how Ohio stacks up against Montana, and vice versa, is this. Ohio makes damage where Montana cannot, while Montana makes damage where Ohio should, but doesn't. And I'll get into a more in-depth explanation of this concept, but first I want to talk a little about the ship's respective statistics. For all intents and purposes, Ohio is a Montana. They have the same hull, both have 96,300 hit points, the armor layout is the same, and they share the same structural strengths and weaknesses. So while those who have played a lot of Georgia know that ship is super squishy, Ohio is not a relative of Georgia. Maybe a distant cousin, and only that their guns are the same. The similarities in there though, so don't get excited thinking Ohio might have a speed boost. She doesn't. Now back to Montana. She has her 16-inch guns. Ohio, like Georgia, has 457mm guns, though Ohio has 8 of them instead of Georgia's 6. Ohio also shares the same secondaries with Georgia, and can reach out more than 11 kilometers. This is something Montana cannot do. Both ships have similar speed, which makes sense. Montana is a hair faster at 30 knots with Sierra Mikes, while Ohio ekes out 29.4. Both have a 950 meter turning radius, but interestingly enough, Ohio has a base rudder shift of 18.6 seconds, besting Montana's 22.2. This I thought was a little strange quirk. Lastly, both ships have 14 kilometer concealment at their best, and the AA is pretty much the exact same. So in all actuality, the only thing that separates the Ohio from the Montana is her guns and secondaries. Everything else is virtually the same, with the exception of a few small things. Again, same hull, same armor, same survivability. So now let's go back to my statement about how they differ. You know, the one about finding damage. If you've played Georgia, you know she can have monster rounds. I mean, Wargaming touts her as the most accurate battleship in World War ships. Of course, this doesn't mean you'll always land your shots. And because Georgia has 6 guns, misses are felt a lot more. This is no different with Ohio. You have 2 more shells to fire than Georgia. I would assume the accuracy is virtually identical with the 2 ships. I have no reason to believe it's not. She hits hard when she connects, but when she doesn't connect, the misses are very frustrating. Montana will hit targets, especially at range, that Ohio will not. Damage that Ohio should find, but doesn't, because of her 8 shells versus 12. However, Ohio will find damage where Montana simply cannot due to the differences in shell size, especially on ships that are trying to bow tank that Montana might traditionally have trouble with. It's a very odd thing, but both Ohio and Montana fill in each other's gaps. Ohio has the slugging power and ability to wreck ships within 15 kilometers that Montana lacks in all but the most broadside of ships, whereas Montana can snipe those 18 kilometer targets and citadel them where Ohio will likely miss every single round. And that's the big difference between the two. They're alternate realities. Ohio is Bizarro Montana, and actually Ohio is more similar to Kurfürst in some ways. If you like Kurfürst, you'll likely enjoy Ohio, because of the X factor, that being the secondaries. Ohio has an extra weapon in her arsenal, and that's her 11 kilometer secondaries, something Montana lacks, and something that should indicate to most players that the Ohio is set up to be a brawler. Everything about Ohio screams brawler. Guns that are accurate but more situated towards mid-range and closer, extremely far-reaching secondaries, nice hit pool and good armor. That's not to say Montana isn't a brawler. She does perfectly fine brawling, and her guns are perfectly fine against anything, to a degree. You've probably disintegrated yammies that went broadside to your Montana. Montana is a great battleship. Possibly the best Tier 10 battleship in my opinion, because she's a jack of all trades. Ohio, in my opinion, is less a jack of all trades and suited more towards short-range gameplay. Don't get me wrong, she can do the long-range duty, and she'll connect at long range every now and then. And when Ohio connects, it hurts. Even if only one shell connects, it hurts bad. But if you play the long-range game, your damage will accumulate a lot slower because you aren't getting as many shells on target. I think for a few players this might be frustrating, especially those that like playing Montana at a more comfortable distance and play her more as a mid-range to long-range sniper. Ohio is not really that type of ship. She likes to be up in your face. Still, I think many players will like her. She's a good ship right now. She's powerful, but not overly powerful. Her guns are phenomenal in the right situation, and she's very familiar to play, because again, it's basically the Montana. I think players will like her for the ability to switch things up if they get bored with Montana, but still like how Montana handles and want something similar. Again, in many ways, it's almost like the Curvers, except you have to choose a new ship to change the guns. You can't just change the guns on the same ship. Personally, I don't think Ohio is going to get many more changes, if any. She seems solid how she is, but I'll keep my eyes and ears open if anything does change and report back my findings. Anyhow, there's your Ohio and how she differs from Montana. They are unidentical twins. Montana got the brains while Ohio gets the brawn. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to like and sub for more ship previews and reviews and all the latest news in World of Warships. Zoop out.